Well, hey, y'all. I'll tell you what, I will so be glad when we don't have to worry about technical glitches anymore. But if I'm honest with you, don't we think that they'll probably always be around for now? Well, welcome to TRC Talks. I am excited about today. And honestly, I'm kind of glad we're maybe 5 minutes late from pushing the start button because I had two people text me this morning and said, we're going to hurry up on finance meetings. So hopefully we'll jump on and see you. So maybe that gave them a little bit more time. And so thank you for bearing with us. We'll do the housekeeping rules as we always do, or housekeeping tips or housekeeping contents or whatever. Make sure that as you're watching this on Facebook, there's a little link above that says it allows you to basically give StreamYard permission to have your name so that when you comment like Miss April Bragg just did, I can see that it's Miss April Bragg. And yes, we're here and we're live. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Let us know where you're from, what chamber you're representing. Go ahead and put those in the comments just so we kind of know. I'm excited to kind of give a little special shout out to our Alabama friends. The Chamber of Commerce Association of Alabama was scheduled originally to do a kind of a monthly webinar talk, and then they saw this, and so we decided to merge those. They asked if they could come join us. I said absolutely. So glad to have some of our Alabama people here, and I see some of them in the comments. But we're going to go ahead and get to it because I will tell you. You know, I'm always excited to bring you fresh and new content, but this one I am really, really excited about because, you know, as we go across the country talking to chambers about how they can make more money, a lot of the times we will get to chambers and I'm still kind of really shocked at the timing of it. Honestly, they'll say, well, we have a leadership program, but we're really not making any money off of it. What do you mean you're not making money off your leadership program? Make some money off of it. So we first start with the tuition that you charge, but then it's a good program for sponsors, especially when there is the opportunity for you to enhance content with sponsors. And because you enhance content, more sponsors follow, kind of chicken and egg syndrome. So I am really excited to bring you the content today. As most of you know, you have seen me at different state associations, chamber associations, and from time to time, a chamber will ask me, you know, why do you sit in the sessions? Why are you feverishly taking notes? Why are you doing all of this stuff? Well, it's so that I can get good content too. If I am going to help YGM help chambers in growing your revenue, I've kind of got to know what's out there. I've kind of got to know good content. You know, we can't just do the same thing over and over again because we've always done it and expect to get different results. So this past July, I was privileged to be with the Georgia Chamber execs in Jekyll Island. And I was looking at the agenda as I always do, kind of seeing, you know, which ones I might step away from and make a chamber call and which ones I really wanted to be in. And if I'm honest with you, I saw the agenda and then I saw Dr. Melissa Furman. And I thought, oh, heavens to the Lord, this is going to be as boring as watching paint dry. Really, and Tiffany, former aunt who runs that association, is a real good friend of mine. And I thought in my head, Tiffany, you couldn't do better than that. Come on. And she absolutely did far better than what I thought, as I should have known she did, because the academic did not necessarily show up in the way that I thought academia was going to show up in all of Dr. Furman's sessions. She had about 3 or 4 of them, and none of them specifically on leadership programs. But I have to tell you, it was kind of in the first session when I was kind of like half listening, half not, and then really getting involved. It did not take her long to drop a golden nugget that we're going to talk about today that was about how to make leadership programs different and unique. And so I wrote it feverishly down and kind of have been talking about it now for a couple of months. And then we had the privilege of sharing the agenda at the Virginia State Chamber Association not just a few weeks ago. And I was like, I've got to bring this to everybody in this particular process. So I am going to let you know, I typically, y'all know me, I don't like a whole lot of introductions. I think they're But I think this is important because I want you to know the person behind the doctor. And then we're going to bring her on and we're just going to get started with this particular aspect. But Dr. Furman is not the usual academic. Really, from research that she does and really subject matter expertise, she's able to bring kind of generational diversity, unconscious bias, career and leadership development, and emotional intelligence to really bring a positive, practical impact to organizations. Now, that's a lot of cool buzzwords. And I'll be honest, before listening to her, I was kind of like, what does that really have to do with chamber? She's got some good stuff that really helps your businesses. I wish we could spend all day with her and she could tap into all of those. But I think you're going to see what I mean behind that. The interesting part about her is she has a degree in psychology. And then she got a master's in, I lost it. And so, it was something to do with psychology. It's not on that note page. We'll ask her in a minute. And then she got a doctorate in business. So she brought the psychology world to be dean of a business school. And I think that creates a really good base for what we're going to talk about today. Now, I will share with you all the cool stuff that I typically share in introductions. She's a Yankee Belle, which is what I really think I like about her the most. She's from New Jersey, but she's been 20 years plus in Augusta, Georgia. So a Southerner, so kind of smoothed her rough edges, but there's still some peaks there that I really love. Y'all know I like to just go in for it. She has an 800 square foot craft room. I just learned this, so I'm interested to dive deep on that. And she loves to sew and collect tie-dye. So all of that is going to bring you to an aspect of Dr. Melissa Furman. So we're going to bring her on and begin to chat with her. Hey, how are you?
Hey, good. Thanks for all that positive talk about me.
Well, hey, most of these people know me enough to know that it's true, or otherwise I wouldn't have said it and just said, well, honestly, if it wasn't true, you wouldn't be here. So I wouldn't have to say anything at all. So glad to have you. And I have to say, Allie Rauch of the Opelika, Alabama Chamber just said, ooh, Yankee Belle. I might have to use that description too. She is also a Yankee Belle and new president there at Opelika, Alabama. So we're glad that she's here as well. So, it's just good to have you. I will tell you, as we have talked about it over the last few months, the aspects of leadership is so strong for chambers. But before we get into leadership, you've got to tell us, how did your world of business and psychology collide together?
Yeah, so I originally started college as a math major, believe it or not.
Okay.
Calculus 3 scared me a little bit, and I'm naturally like this people person. So I think by default, psychology made sense to me. But I genuinely care about people. Like that is where my heart is at. I've worked a lot with students and I've done a lot of career counseling and professional development, leadership development. And long story short, I became an assistant dean of a business school, basically helping business students figure out what they want to do and then helping business students get connected to jobs. So I worked a lot in external affairs and working with companies and nonprofits who want to hire business students. But at the end of the day, it was always about students and it was always about people and it was always about helping businesses find the right people for what they needed from employment standpoint. But to ever become like a dean of a business school, you have to have a doctorate of business. So I say that I'm a sheep in wolf's clothing because I really care about the people. But now having a doctorate of business, I also understand how people impact that bottom line. And so I think I'm like really this cool kind of hybrid. And the master's degree is in professional counseling.
There it is.
Yeah. So I'm actually a licensed mental health counselor. So I can like genuinely talk with people, help them figure out what they want to do. But I'll tell you this, I employ my counseling skills more and more every day, working with businesses and working with employees within businesses. So for me, I think it's been like a perfect blend of the two.
I understand that. It's been interesting to me. I joke often that, not a lot of people paid attention in Psychology 101. And Michelle on our team said, that's not true. Most people did. Well, okay, so then I didn't. But it's interesting to me how much just psychology and the mental plays in our professional world in that aspect. So was it in the business school arena that you first found out about chamber leadership programs? How did your world intersect with this world of chamber leadership programs?
Yeah, so my first exposure to chamber leadership programs is actually when I was awarded a top 10 in 10 designation from my local chamber, back when I became the assistant dean of the business school. And they invited me to participate in their leadership program. And that was my first exposure. However, for 20 years now, I've been working with organizations, primarily corporate organizations, on how to develop leadership programs as a recruitment and retention tool for their employees. And so I've kind of transitioned my knowledge from corporate, let it kind of fold over into what my experience now has been with chamber leadership programs. And now I'm working with all kinds of organizations, government, nonprofit, corporate, and helping them rethink their leadership programs.
Well, I mean, and I would say rethink leadership programs. I think that's why we have a number of followers today. I think that's
Yeah.
why the topic was an aspect of kind of leveling it up. And I go back to the days when I was an executive at the chamber and going through leadership programs and leading them for our members and such. And now that we are able to go across the nation and look at other chambers leadership programs, it's always very interesting to me because by and large, the majority that we get is kind of one or two things, maybe a combination of both. For some chambers, they are very proud of their leadership programs. They are proud that they have been in existence for a while. I'll never forget in the last couple of years, I was with the chamber and you could tell they were kind of new in the leadership position of the leadership programs. And somebody had told them, you knew it had come because we'd always done it this way. They'd said they've been doing it for about 35 years and they were the longest standing program for leadership in America. And I just, really wish I had a filter because I burst her little bubble real quick and was like, no, sweetheart, they're a lot more older than 35 years old. But there's a good sense of, pride for some people. Others, I get to them. And when I just say leadership, you kind of get the eye roll, you get the, and as they start talking about it, they're like, we used to have 35 in a class and now we've got 9 and it's hard to get more and more people to come into it. And, I feel like we have to do it, but I don't want to do it. And just all of this kind of weight is on it in an aspect. And I think sometimes even people with a prideful group still feels a burden of we've always done it that way, even though they don't know any additional ways to do it. So I'm just going to kind of start at a general question for you, a kind of general level. When it comes to, and before I ask you this question, I'm going to pause and say, everybody listening now or in the replay, when you don't see the little live button up there, this might be a little, feet stomping sermon. You might get ready to have your feet stepped on a little bit because we really want you to stretch in this. And so I think if she's going to share, I know she's going to share with you what I heard. And for some of you, I hope it's as eye-opening as it was for me, because as soon as she started talking about some of these things, and nuggets, and now we get to craft it into a whole discussion here. I really was like, man, I wish I had this information back when I was doing chamber leadership programs in my day. So hopefully get your notes ready, get your, writing utensils, your phones, whatever. So base question, what is your basic recommendation for chamber leadership programs? What should they focus on? How should they be structured? Is it good to do the field trips that we always know of going to everything? You've been through one, you're now working with them. What makes a great program in your opinion?
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying about potentially me stomping on their toes, or I mean, that's the story of my life. That's where the Yankee part of the Yankee Bell comes in. But please know it's well intentioned. 100% when I do those kinds of things, it's because I want to have the biggest impact and help you the best that I can. So, leadership programs are more important now than ever, right? And this was even the case before the pandemic began because business is changing at such a rapid pace. Our environments are more diverse than they've ever been, and they're going to continue to become more diverse. And like Jason mentioned, my background's generational diversity. And if you haven't heard me speak before or haven't done any reading, we're embarking on a major leadership crisis moving forward. Okay, because when the boomers finally retire, which we don't know when that's going to happen, it's going to happen eventually, there's going to be a massive leadership gap. And the next generation, which is mine, and I'm not sure, Jason, are you a millennial?
I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, no.
Are
I
you
think
older than 40?
No, I'm right there.
Okay, y'all, he's a
I'm the
cusper.
I'm the ish. I'm the ish. I'm
He's
more
the ish.
millennial than I am down. I'm far more
We
millennial
all
than
should have
I am
figured,
down.
right?
Yeah.
Come on, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, my generation, Gen X, there's not enough of us to fill those leadership gaps. So these super ambitious, highly motivated young millennials and younger generations are being thrusted into these leadership positions. And we really don't know, are they ready, right? They think they're ready, but do they really have the professional, emotional maturity to be ready? And I say all that because when you're thinking about your leadership programs, you need to first pause and say, take a pulse. What is the current environment? And what is the purpose of our leadership program? What are you trying to accomplish? Is it, okay, we're trying to develop leaders in our communities. Okay, that could be your purpose. Now, leaders in your community, are they leaders of their businesses and then therefore by default they're leaders in your community, or are you looking to develop leaders to serve in leadership roles within your community? So first and foremost, what's your purpose? For some of you, your purpose may be just to expose current and potential future leaders to different challenges and issues within your community. Kind of these field trips that Jason's talking about, that you just want to expose them to the education system, expose them to the public safety system. But are you really developing leaders? You're really just exposing them, right? Or maybe your leadership program is you're taking existing and potential leaders and just making them aware of the challenges and opportunities in your community. So I ask you, number one, are you looking to develop, expose, or bring awareness? Maybe you're trying to do all three, but what I have found is the piece that may be missing is that many of you may not be investing in the development of your leaders, and you're doing more of the awareness, opportunities, exposure piece of it. So let me give you an example. So I know many organizations like chambers will bring their leadership class to go visit different sites in their communities, which is great. Well, why not take it to the next level? So I would recommend that you develop a leadership curriculum where there's certain things that you want to develop within your participants, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute, what that should look like. But let's just not stop there. Let's then take them out into the community and let's have them apply and reinforce what you just taught them in your leadership curriculum. So, for example, in your leadership curriculum, let's say you're teaching them decision making and problem solving, because we all know today leaders are having to make decisions faster and solve problems more often and faster. All right, great. Well, then let's take them out to a local business and work with that local business ahead of time and say, hey, we're going to bring this leadership class in and we'd love for you to present them a problem on the spot. Right. And so, because we want them to apply what we've just taught them about decision making and problem solving. And then we're going to ask them on the spot to provide you with recommendations and solutions. Okay, so maybe you go to a local manufacturer, they bring you into the conference room, they tell you about the organization, they present the problem. Well, we all know, and hopefully you taught this in the curriculum, that with problem solving and decision making, you need to collect data and you need to get more information to be able to solve the problem and make the decision. So you actually could spend a full day or half day at the manufacturing organization and asking to meet with certain people or get more information. And as a group, you're doing this because it's great for the first time when you're learning something to do it as a group before you kind of go off on your own solo. And then in the afternoon, the groups actually present their solutions or recommendations to the business. That's such a great way to really take your leadership program to the next level. So you taught them in the curriculum, you bring them out into the community to provide awareness and exposure, right? You have them apply and reinforce what they learned. And guess what just happened? That business just got free consulting from 15 to 20 different people coming from unique perspectives. And so really it's a win-win for everybody. So that's one example of how you could potentially design your program for that.
That to me has just been phenomenal. Now, I don't know about the rest of y'all working on here. I mean, if y'all kind of went boo like I did, let me know, or y'all might go, Jason, you stuck back in the 90s because we already do that. Maybe, I don't know. But it's an aspect of really thinking through it, because I guarantee you, some of the chambers that I've talked to in the last couple of months, sharing what she just shared, you can tell there's this, oh, that's a cool idea, but how do we do that when we have every day lined out? Like, we can give you the whole entire platform of the year, and it's going to be health and human services. It's going to be our community development, aka going over across nonprofits, aka, going to all the community-based organizations. We've got medical, we've got law enforcement, we've got local government, we've got economic development day, we've got a military community, we've got military. Oh, wait, I'm out of days. What? Well, maybe we shouldn't be doing those days like that, is what he just said, people. Let me break it down for you, because you've got to have a class on decision making and problem solving. Hello. Before you can go out to do those things. So you might spend a couple of sessions not field tripping, but learning things to then go into these. And in that aspect, I mean, y'all all done a manufacturing tour. Y'all know you have. And what do? I remember one in Texas that we went to learn about the Bluebell plant and how they make the ice cream. What did Jason want? He wanted the free samples, is what he wanted. That's all I worried about.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it was cool to see how they put Bluebell in a container that I could bring home and eat the half a gallon in a nighttime sitting of the Golden Girls. But did that really help the business? Was that awareness piece checked? Absolutely. But we weren't developing leaders through that process. We weren't giving them tangible things to exercise their growth. And a lot of the times, I think that's why we've seen our leadership groups go from 25, 35 down to 9. For two reasons.
Okay, go ahead.
One is that right there. We're not giving them the development piece. We're just giving them the awareness piece. But I think it's also, we're not factoring in this generational aspect. Right. I don't know how many about you chambers, how many times have we heard the generational spill, the workforce spill, to think that, there's a purpose in what we learn with those generations, putting it back into our leadership program. So many of you have asked me before, what's the difference in young professionals versus leadership programs? Aren't they the same age? Well, maybe not. It depends on where those leadership people are, and are we developing them or making them aware? So I think that's where that generational should pull back. Am I right in that thought process?
Yeah. And if you ever come to my generational workshops, I always tell people, think about professionals as early stage professionals, mid-stage professionals, and late-stage professionals. Take the generations out of it. Take the young, the old, whatever you want to do, the early, mid, and late stage. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're targeting those mid-stage, you're too late. You're too late, because right now, most young early-stage professionals are being thrusted into management leadership roles within 1 to 3 years of their career. So you really need to be targeting those early-stage professionals. And to your point too, Jason, the younger generations, there's my bell, by the way. Oh, and one more thing. Jason's an old soul. He may be born within the millennial generation, but he's an old lady. He just talked about Golden Girls. Okay. So you're an old soul. But the younger generations, you have to remember, they learn very differently than those of us in our mid-stage and late-stage career professionals. So when you think about a class, or you hear me talking about a curriculum, they're not sitting in a conference room for 3 hours or 6 hours. That is not what a class looks like. That is not how they learn anymore. You're not up there with PowerPoint, with a printed out binder, with inserts, and they get print out of your PowerPoint slides. No, Gen X, we love that, right? We look for that. We love our binder. Absolutely not. The minute that the younger generations walk in and they see that A, you have binders, and B, you have PowerPoint, they're piecing out. They're not interested. So this is what this looks like. When I talk about this class, maybe you send them material. So you use cloud computing, right? You use Google Docs or whatever. You have them read articles and or watch a video. Then you bring them together and you have a discussion, and you may meet for like 90 minutes. Then you have them go do something afterwards. like have them read something, a follow-up article, or reflect on it and do an exercise or whatever. Then you bring them on site to the manufacturing. So you could even do 90 minutes in the morning, y'all hop in a van or your vehicles and then go drive over to the manufacturers, all still within the one day. Or you have them do it all ahead of time, get them all connected virtually, do a quick 60-minute conversation, and then you go physically on site to the one day. So don't think that it's the old traditional way, getting them in a U-shaped format with binders and PowerPoints. It doesn't have to be that way. And quite honestly, I don't recommend that it be that way, because we're all having challenges, right? Chambers, all civic organizations, with engaging these younger generations. And that's why your numbers are down, because you really haven't evolved and refreshed about how you do things, what you're doing, and the delivery of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a complete refresh for sure.
Guys, I hope she just dropped a bomb in your leadership groups, because I know she'd have dropped a bomb in mine, because what do? We do the way we've always done it. And for her to say, think about professionals, I mean, young professionals, we're so in mind of, because that's the thing. That was the thing 10 or 15 years ago, and we're still trying to make it the thing in the world of chambers. So when you've got young professionals and then leaderships, and how do you make that? But at the same time, you've got an aspect of where they are in the stage of their professionalism. And it's what I've been telling y'all to think about in just how to sponsor, how to reach your businesses. You have to think about them where they are in business stage. You have to think about these people where they are in professional stages. And so for some of you, if you're still having the same agenda because you're just recycling it year after year and swapping out a logo and calling it done, you're probably not developing the leaders. The other thing that I'm going to probably blow some of you up on this is, if you are letting the class that just graduated plan the days for the next group, y'all check yourself. I mean, that's just about, we letting the inmates guard the prison with that. They just learned the process, and now we think they're experts to help somebody else. It's a long time coming, people. We've got to start bringing in some deep stuff. And so with that, Melissa, what would you kind of give them a little bit about that emotional intelligence that needs to be part of it, assessment tools, things, because at this point, we've just kind of blown up their whole agenda. They don't have a field trip anymore. What did they put in its place?
Yeah, and also to piggyback on your comment, Jason, is that if you let the previous class plan the next class, guess what? You are not embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion, because you have these people who went through a program who are now all thinking a certain way, designing next year's program, and you're basically reinventing, rebreeding the same mindset. Right. So you really want
incest, people. It's incest.
You really want some unique perspectives. And every year you should take a pulse, because I'm telling you right now, what you did last year most likely is not going to be relevant next year. I mean, we're just changing too fast. This is just the world we're living in, and it's the world we're going to continue living in. So here are some things that I recommend that you have in programs, because these are red flags to me. And I consult my clients all the time. I say, if you don't see these in a leadership program, I think it's obsolete and it could be dated, or ask more questions, right? So number one, every leadership development program, again, if your goal is to develop leaders, there has to be self-reflection assessment tools. There has to be. Now, some people love Myers-Briggs, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't recommend Myers-Briggs. And this is coming from an academic. This is coming from a licensed mental health counselor who does all kinds of assessments. And it's nothing against the Myers-Briggs. I think it's a great tool, but it's a personality assessment. And when you're talking about leadership development, is personality really what you want to be assessment? I mean, I understand there's a lot of applications to it, but personalities vary. Like if I all told you, so Myers-Briggs, I'm actually an INTJ. I'm an introvert. And those of you who met me, you're like, really? You're an introvert? No way. Like you and Jason can talk for hours. I'm an outgoing introvert. But when I'm at work, I turn it on. So I'm not a big fan of personality assessments. I recommend behavioral assessments, leadership assessments, assessments that are going to basically tell you communication styles, how to communicate, how not to communicate, ideal environments, strengths, weaknesses, blind spots, how other people may perceive you, Emotional intelligence is huge, and I'm going to segue that into my second one. So number one, it has to have self-reflection tools.
Before you go to number two,
Okay.
give some examples. If it's not
Okay.
Myers-Briggs, what would you recommend?
So I recommend the DISC. I highly recommend DISC. I have a tool that is both DISC and motivators, because the DISC explains the how people behave, but that's it, just how you behave. The tool that I have, which is a DISC and motivators, it's the how and the why. And so if anybody wants to know more about the tool, I'm happy to send it to you. We can follow up. I'm pretty sure it's the only tool on the market, that a DISC tool that's both DISC and motivators. There's all kinds of different leadership assessments. I do caution you about the Enneagram.
I was just about to
People
ask.
are really excited about it, and I am as well. I think it's an amazing tool. However, if you're targeting early stage professionals, these younger folks, the Enneagram may or may not be the best tool, and it's because the way that the tool is designed, right? For them to get accurate results, when they're taking the assessment, they're answering questions about what they would do in certain situations, and the young professionals don't have enough experience to have been in those situations to know how they would react. So I've had a lot of young professionals come to me with their results, and they're like, hey, can you help me understand this? This says I'm an educator, or this says I'm this, and they give me the label. And I'm like, knowing you as well as I do, maybe not. It's an amazing tool for mid-stage professionals. Basically anybody, this is Melissa Furman's professional opinion, by the way. I don't want them coming back suing me saying like for defamation, but it is what it is. It's a great tool for people who have experience. I think it's an excellent tool. But some people do the colors test, like are you blue, green, red? That's really not deep surface level assessments. That's taking like a questionnaire in the back of a Cosmopolitan magazine saying this is your body style and this is how you should dress. I mean, I don't mean this is the Yankee coming out at me. It needs to be a legitimate assessment that the people who are administering it should be certified to be able to administer it. And I can help you. There's these people all over the world. They're really not very expensive. I can help you get connected. And as a matter of fact, some of your folks at the chambers may want to get certified in them so they can be the ones who administer it every year.
Perfect.
Okay. So can I go on to number two?
Yep, go.
Number two, a modern day relevant leadership program must have some kind of a module class component on emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the future of leadership. It's needed today, it's needed tomorrow. Executive search firms are using emotional intelligence assessments to screen candidates for executive positions. Knowing what we know about the younger generations and knowing about the future of business, emotional intelligence is critical. So when I say emotional intelligence, things like empathy. Empathy is the number one skill, leadership skill needed for success today. I'm talking about assertiveness. I'm talking about resiliency. I'm talking about emotional self-awareness, emotional expression. It's all of these soft skills that the older generations, we were told to check at the door. Absolutely not. The younger generations, if they don't see that in their leaders, they're piecing out. But more importantly, the younger generations may not have the level of emotional intelligence that they need to be successful in leadership roles. And emotional intelligence can be developed. So I highly recommend that. There's assessment tools. There's all kinds of different resources where you can have someone come in. Now, let's go back to the application part. You could do a module on emotional intelligence, and then you can bring them on site to one of your places that you want to bring them to. And you can have them talk to different business leaders within that organization about emotional intelligence and what they view their role emotional intelligence has played in their leadership roles. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can apply it when you go to on-site to these different places. And then the last third thing, if you can, a modern day relevant, impactful leadership program should have some kind of coaching component to it. Young professionals, new early stage professionals, they highly value one-on-one personalized attention. Even if you can embed one-on-one coaching session with them. And I should share with you, Gen Z, the youngest generation, they want one-on-one FaceTime with adults. And now coaching is different than mentoring. Coaching is basically looking at their blind spots, weaknesses that you just identified, maybe using the assessments, and helping them identify ways and put together a development plan of how they can improve on those things. If you can embed that within a leadership development program, that's critical. That's going to really have the deepest impact and help your leaders grow and develop. Now, you're going to have to find somebody who can do the coaching. But again, a lot of my Gen Xers and baby boomers, you have the experience. You may just have to learn how to do coaching, which is this: ask questions, don't answer questions. That's how you do coaching. There's the secret, right? And you have to be able to help them understand what they need to grow and develop. So those are the three components that if I don't see them in a leadership program, I think a leadership development program, it's a red flag.
Those to me are great, and it blows up normal leadership programs. It takes some work. I'm going to bring in a question from April Bragg at Robbins Region in Georgia. She said, how do we develop all of this new content on top of all the other new stuff that we're having to do? AKA, how do we rip off and duplicate the R&D of the chamber? Who can we rip off and duplicate? How? All of those. Before I let you go into it, what I am going to add to that is probably in a financial aspect for you chambers is you're like, all of this sounds great, but it means that I'm not printing out an agenda and spending like 10 minutes on my session and moving on. And I mean, come on, I digress. 10 minutes. I know you're spending like 30 because you got to plan the meal and you got to plan the transportation, all that. But I'm talking content. And so, yes, it's going to take time. We're going to have to figure out our priorities. But I'm also going to tell you financially, that's where you got to get up off your 3-digit price. Whether it's $550, whether it's $850, thousands are appropriate for a content-heavy leadership program, and your businesses will buy it. Remember, I tell you all the time, free has a connotation. It's a negative connotation. When you say a multi-month leadership program and you're like, it's $550 because we've got to get Jimmy John sandwiches for everybody, you're putting a negative connotation on your leadership programs. I promise you, small businesses, mid-sized companies, large companies have money allocated, but they're going to put it where they get this content. So with that, Melissa, how do they rip off and duplicate people?
Yeah, well, and Jason, tell me your thoughts. Could they potentially get a sponsor to fund the development of the program?
Absolutely. Now, I say that with a pause because now y'all are going to get my whole how you budget scenario. Financially smart chambers, financially sound chambers, people that operate a chamber like a business decide how much the program is going to cost and then divide it by tuition. So if you didn't get a sponsorship program at all, you could still fund this. If you begin to go look for funders to your content, you don't get a sponsor, you're kind of dead in the water. Now, the caveat with that is if you've got a foundation, 501c3s for your 501c6s, we're seeing a lot of them come out more than ever out of COVID with chambers. And so in that aspect, you could write grants to larger corporations that we all want access to, that then that grant funding could then fund your content development research in that aspect, and you would have that before the program began. So just make sure the horse is before the cart when it comes to sponsors and tuition and grant writing. But there are ways to circumvent that. Yes.
Yeah, because part of my services is my consulting services is I do work with organizations and helping them develop leadership programs, and it's a flat rate. And I basically listen to their needs. I design it, develop, package it, give it to them. And it's basically like a module, and then maybe we revisit every year to kind of refresh, and I serve in that capacity. But also, me and you could any of you on this call today, we could sit down for a small consultation appointment, look at what you need, and then build the core skeleton, and then go out and find people who can serve an expertise for each of the modules that we're discussing. And that's where you can get sponsors, right? So like you could have, and Jason, interject please, because you're the sponsor expert. But at the end of the day, like when you go to the sponsorship, you're like, this sponsorship is going to sponsor the emotional intelligence module. This sponsorship is going to sponsor the decision making, problem solving. Because then you're going down, you're peeling back the onion and giving them the nitty gritty of like, you are helping develop problem solving and decision making skills in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can bring somebody in who's an expert, and that sponsorship brings in that expert to do it. Or you may have an expert in your community that once you talk with them about it, you say, hey, we have this core skeleton. Do you think you can come in and do this? And y'all tap your community colleges, your technical colleges. They have people there who can come in. Now, full disclaimer, be careful bringing in an academic. You don't want them coming in lecturing you on theories about decision making. You want to make sure that there's someone who can do a practical application of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have some options.
And I will say, those that I see playing in this water with Chambers do have a good relationship with either a community college or a leadership program that can help that out. But Chambers, I'm going to also tell you, she mentioned it when she was talking about the testing and the programming and such, that you yourself might be certified. So many times during COVID, we heard people go, what else can we do to money make when we can't have an event, when we can't have this in-person thing? I've also had a number of chambers in the past 18 months. How can we increase our content for our investment levels, our tier dues? How can we still have a leadership program if we can't meet in person? Well, that's throwing the whole field trip out, because if you listen to what she said and talked about coaching, we can do that here just the same way we're talking. But there's some non-dues revenue for you all who might go get discertified or another certification, fill in the blank, because not only would then you could do this particular session, but offer that to some of your top tiers in your membership, because there are more than likely a number of corporations in your membership that they would love to have something like that done on an annual basis, every other year for their top employees, all of their employees in a team schedule. And then that's part of the service that you are giving as a chamber. So again, when we intertwine leadership with a lot of what we do at the chamber, that's when it's becoming stronger in that. Now, we've gotten some questions, Melissa, about, and I'm going to use this kind of as the stepping stone for some kind of statistical data. What do you feel is the good length of a leadership program? We're so used to seeing them follow the school year just because we've always done it that way. So is, August to May the appropriate time frame? What's a good size for it? Does there need to be age demographics? How would you set up the ideal leadership group?
Yeah, and again, it goes back to your purpose, right? Like what are you trying to achieve at the end of the day? If you want true, pure leadership development, you're going to need time for reflection. So you're going to want to plan it, I would recommend, over a period of time. And it depends on your community, right? And it depends on the needs of your community and depends on your existing programs, quite honestly. But I recommend, my short answer is, it needs to occur over time, whether that's every other Friday over 3 months or once a month for 9 months. It just has to occur over time, because a well-designed leadership program should have pre-work, your face-to-face time, and then what I call intercession work that they should be doing in between. And now you all are sitting there going, Melissa, these are working professionals. They don't have time for this. That's right. So that's why you have to do it right. And you have to do it smart, and you have to use technology. Like when people said, oh, could we do a leadership program online? I'm like, thank goodness you're finally thinking about online, because a well-developed leadership program that's geared towards the younger generations, a percentage of it should be online anyway. And it should be, this is an academic word, but there's asynchronous and synchronous. It should be asynchronous, which means they do it at their own pace when they have time. Because remember, the younger generations have this whole work-life integration. They work in small spurts of time at the weirdest hours of the day. So you have to have components of the program that they're doing on their time that's convenient for them. And so that needs to be built in, but it needs to happen over time so they have time to reflect upon their learning. If not, they check the box, they go back to work, and they don't apply anything that they learned.
Mhm.
In
Okay.
terms of size, ideally, research says any type of class or learning development program the sweet spot is right between 15 and 18. But I'm going to tell you, I recommend you bring in a class of 20 to 22 because you're going to have a few who have to drop out because of life circumstances, right? So then you know that you still have your 15 to 18. You don't want to go less than 15. Maybe less than 12 is really pushing the threshold. And I really wouldn't go higher than 22, 20. I really don't even like 25. It's really that 15 to 18 is the sweet spot. That's the number where you can get
What
the most engagement.
happens? What do you think organizations lose if they get down to 9, 10, 11 people? What's lost by that?
You don't have the diversity of thought, and because at the end of the day, what makes a leadership program is not just the curriculum and the content and the experiences. It's all the perspectives that are being brought in together. That's what really makes a leadership program rich. And so when you only have 9, you're kind of limiting the different unique perspectives, and you start getting groupthink. You start getting peer pressure. Start getting people who may not feel comfortable speaking up. And then when you break into groups, you basically have what, like 3 groups of 3? It's a
Yeah.
little bit better when you have like 5 groups of 3 or you have 4 groups of 4. Just from a learning standpoint, it's better when you have more brains in the room.
Okay. Okay. When chambers are thinking about this and they go, okay, I think we're going to jump off the deep end and do it a little differently. And, God, we're going to have to change everything we've done. Yep. Welcome, people. That's the
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
How do they sell it to members when they're used to just kind of all call who wants to join the leadership? Oh, wait, we always have these 4 businesses always send somebody. We don't like who they're sending anymore, but they always send them. And we get somebody from the school board and we get somebody from the city, and the sheriff's office sends 2 people. And, oh, okay, I got my 10 because I've just done an all call. How do we make businesses, especially small businesses, look at this differently?
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, if you're not comfortable with blowing things up, you might as well jump ship, because you need to get on board with being comfortable with blowing things up every year, because if not, the younger generations are going to you're either going to sink the ship, or the younger generations are going to walk you off the plank and throw you off the ship, because they are major disruptors and they blow things up all the time and they question why to everything. So you have to get comfortable with that space, number 1. Number 2, the best way to sell it to small businesses is this: you can't afford to not participate in this program, because business is changing at such a rapid pace and there's so much diversity in our workplace environments today. You can't afford to not be in this program. This program is quickly responding to the need to quickly train leaders for today and tomorrow. You need to have your existing and potential leaders. 1, it signals to them that you care about them. But 2, you're giving them the skills and attributes and qualities and characteristics to be successful. And without it, you may be dead in the water.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I would say to that, to add to it, and I think a lot of chambers, guys, y'all, I think you miss a lot of this. Small businesses in particular, depending on the stage that they are in business, are always looking for ways to do business better. They are wearing all of these hats of HR and marketing and finance and custodian and all of that. And yes, they're overwhelmed. God knows they're overwhelmed more now than ever with workforce issues and COVID on top of that. But I will tell you, if you asked a lot of them, it's the times that we get pushed to small business owners to the nth that we decide, okay, a self-assessment, a reassessment is needed. And they will spend significant dollars. I know for a fact, 5 figures, some of them, to go through an annual process. They say, okay, this is the year I'm going to invest in my company. And they will spend 5 figures. Y'all know what that means. That's higher than $10,000 is 5 figures, okay? To put into their business, because in their mind, they go, well, $10,000 is less than $1,000 a month. Some of them go $24,000 on leadership development programs. They go, okay, that's $2,000 a month in my business. And so if that's the case, if I can grow to the next level, then I can put something in and I can make back more money than that.
Yeah, make a business case.
We cannot be scared to put value on our program, but you're not going to be able to get a high four figures, because I know some of y'all at 550 are just about to have an aneurysm.
Mhm.
But if you do high four figures, or if you're a chamber that has a robust programming that can get to 5 figures, they're not going to do it if you don't put time into it. And then that goes back to our whole adage as chambers. We might have to get rid of some of the stuff we've always done for staff development time and just networking and all that other stuff that's not paying dividends. Because think about what you've got as the chamber. Chamber world, we're always looking for those golden handcuffs. You get a very solid leadership program. You've got a good, solid golden handcuff. And I'm going to tell you, make it members only.
Well,
to that golden handcuff.
So to Jason, because I know we only have a few minutes, but Shannon put a great question in the chat. If you look, Shannon Carpenter, and I just want to address it really quickly. Here's a great way to free up some time. Get rid of your selection process. Because here's what I'm going to tell you, and this is where y'all are freaking out. You like drop the mic. You're like, that's it, Melissa. You had me. Now I'm done. Why do you have? So I do diversity training. I do unconscious bias training. I'm going to ask you the question, why do you have a selection process? Do any of you have so many people lined up that you have to have a selection process to limit it? If you do, kudos to you. Let's talk. But here's the thing about these selection processes. One, they're time intensive, but two, they're not inclusive. They're not inclusive. What's happening is you have these organizations self-selecting who they want to send. And I guarantee you there's unconscious and conscious bias as to who they're sending. And they're typically probably going to send people like them or send people who were similar to the person who went last year. And then the selection committee, have you all completed unconscious bias training to make sure that your personal biases aren't playing into your selection? Probably not, right? So get rid of your selection process. Let it be open. And here's what I tell people. If you panic and you're like, oh my gosh, but what if we get 100 people? Well, you know what? That's a great problem to have. And then we can figure out how we can run 2 cohorts, 3 cohorts, or we accept the first 25. And then you know what? When you have 100 people apply, you go back to your sponsors and say, oh my gosh, we had so many people apply. Get rid of the selection process.
And I'll add to that, you know, some chambers, some of you I know that I'm at least seeing your names, you go, well, Melissa, we do have more than 18 applicants. We might have 40 applicants.
Okay.
But I can also tell you that most of you then tell me, but some of them don't even fill it out. Some of them don't want it. So they're probably being pressured to fill it out. When we talk about authenticness, is that the case? But I will also say, I'm going to add to what she said. She talked about multiples. And then you go, oh my gosh, that's more staff time. What I did. That's good problems to have.
Yeah.
If you have the cost in the cost benefit analysis done correctly, then the leadership is paying for the staff to mandate this, to lead this, to work this. And so that means the more that you have, the more your organization is thought of in a larger light in the community, and you are the go-to for leadership development. So why not?
And possibly create small subsection, and Jason and I talked about this, of smaller leadership programs that serve as feeders into your main, very expensive leadership program.
Give them examples.
Women's leadership program. I'm doing one next week. It's a 2-day leadership program. I've talked to some other chambers about doing it with them, because women and underrepresented populations have unique challenges that they need to first be aware of and overcome before they start participating in the generic mainstream leadership program. And I don't like the words mainstream, but you get my point, right? Mm-hmm. So have a 2-day leadership seminar program that then could be a feeder into the main one. So if you have all these people coming out, you may want to do a specialized leadership program, because it's such a big need. We can't do too much of it. And I'll just say it with that because I know we're short on time.
Yes. Well, and I'll say in that aspect, we'll give a few more minutes just because we were a little late so she can
Okay,
wrap this
I'm
up.
cool with that.
In that thought process of just because we say a women's leadership, you're not talking about having a whole separate leadership program going 9
No,
months.
no.
Break them down how that's happening at different intervals with different groups to then feed the larger
Yeah.
group. Why are those a benefit to feed?
Yeah. So again, so I know a lot of chambers have women in business luncheons, but again, are your luncheons, are you really developing women? Or are you just bringing awareness or sharing some event or trying to expose them to women in leadership roles? That's great. But you could do a 2-day women's leadership seminar. And really, quite honestly, you could do a 1-day women's career and leadership development seminar where you come in and you talk about specific topics that you wouldn't talk about in the mainstream program that's specific to women and the challenges that they face. You could do a young professionals leaders program. You could do a baby boomer. Like you could do one that's for late stage and we can come up with a sexy name of how to like reinvent them and repurpose them because they're not retiring anytime soon, right? So you need to think outside the box and get them lower cost, still get maybe 1-2 sponsors. And I'm going to tell you right now, companies are all over sponsoring anything that has to do with the underrepresented group. They want to put their name on it. And you get them excited and then you invite them to participate. Now, it's not a prerequisite. They don't have to, as women, we don't have to do this program to participate in the main one. But you kind of put the bait out, lower cost, have them come in for 2 days, blow them out of the water. And then they're like, give me more, tell me more. And then you say, you follow up and say, hey, we want you to do our 6-month, 8-month program. And you personally invite them, and then they serve as feeders into the big, more expensive one. And the less expensive ones, you may not make as much money on it, but it's an investment to be able to make the money on the big one.
Mm-hmm. All of that, guys, is strategic planning in programming and sponsorships that they all intertwine. We've got to get beyond just looking at what we do in silos because it's never going to produce overarching results. When she's talking about like women's programming and those particulars and all of those particular aspects, what I would tell you in thinking through it is I kind of off the top of my head go to Tupelo, Mississippi. They have a 1-day leadership conference.
Mm-hmm.
The cost for small businesses, about a 1,200 member chamber, put in perspective. But the cost for that 1-day seminar is between $200 and $250. And people go, well, small businesses wouldn't pay that for a day. They line up, they sell out every year. The chamber, because of the time they spend on it, the way they strategically created it, they're netting 6 figures off of that one event. That then feeds into a leadership program, as she was talking about. So there's thought to it. There's things together with it. A lot of those particulars as we go through. So, Melissa, I'm seeing a lot of requests for your contact information. One, we will put that on our Facebook page today on the replay of this as well. But give them your website just as a genesis where they can go look at more information for what you do. And then I know it has a lot of ways to reach out to you there.
Sure.
But what's your website?
Yeah, it's www.unlockcareerpotential.com. So again, unlockcareerpotential.com, because my business name is Career Potential. And my whole mission and purpose and what I do is to help organizations unlock the career potential of their employees. Because at the end of the day, the employees, the individuals achieve. And at the end of the day, when they're achieving, the organizations succeed. So it's a win-win for everybody. So again, www.unlockcareerpotential.com.
Perfect.
And you'll actually see, those of you interested in the women's, right now, if you go to the training section of my website, you'll see what a 2-day women's program looks like. Now, here in Augusta, I did not partner with the chambers for different reasons, but I have partnered with chambers in 5 other markets in the Southeast. And it basically is a moneymaker generator for the chambers.
Perfect. Any additional questions as we get ready to wrap up our time with Melissa? I'm not seeing you're going to have to type fast, people. Otherwise, we're going to have to go back to a replay. Good. We've gotten some good nuggets. That's what I always want. I want you to be able to take away something from these, even if it's just one thing. If you go through the process and go, man, what she was talking about is great, but we just coming out of COVID, or the Delta variant just hit us and we're oppressed again, and I just can't see this happening for next year. A number of you have started your leadership programs this fall because they run August or September through May or June. So you're in one. Maybe you have time to think through for next fall, next year. Maybe you'll get out of the school year mindset. Business people work all year long.
Well, and to your point, Jason, you all need to think about starting the program that aligns with business cycles of when they have funding. A lot of times they have funding at the year end. They have year end money they need to use, or you start it at the beginning when their new fiscal year, when they have money to spend.
Absolutely.
Don't get caught on the academic year. We like to think that, but business people don't think that way. So think funding cycles.
So if you've got any additional questions, drop them here. We'll go back. That's what we look for here. We've been here an hour. I know it's about 5 minutes late because we had some technical glitches. But feel free to reach out to Melissa at unlockcareerpotential.com. She'll be guest blogging with us on our website in the next few weeks or so she'll have some additional content to share with you all. And if you continue to like TRC Talks, just let us know. If you've got some topics of interest that you want to know, let me know, and we'll see what experts we know to bring to you. But until next time, y'all just have a good chamber week and blessings all around. Y'all take care. Thanks, Melissa.
Bye.